first. This is a different world.
Freeze it.
Okay.
We can,
Well, folks, this is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It is Friday, February 13th, Friday the 13th. This is our morning meeting. We have with us a group of folks from the Housing and Conservation Board just to talk with us in terms of projects that have occurred over the years. They have some handouts. And we have with us today Michael Monte, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Champlain Housing Trust. Michael, you and I go way back.
no,
How's natural
I
resource?
only was saying he went way back with you when I said, I think I might beat you by a little bit, but I think he actually beat me. So,
Who said that?
Chris Donnelly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I knew him when he was a little
I
kid.
know, just, I didn't have that, so
No, I did. You were in Natural Resources Committee with us
a lot.
a lot
Back
the
in, when I worked
80s.
for the city of Burlington, we were looking to build a waterfront park. And we struggled to get a waterfront park built. And we had to go to natural resources. But thank you for the time today. I'm the CEO of Champlain Housing Trust. First, let me say two things. One, we really do love the accountability court. And we've seen how it's been impactful and it has value in Chittenden County, certainly in its work. And I would urge you to sort of continue that, to expand that. You know, in the world of the work that we do, we're always finding that there are some folks who just need that level of work. Most folks don't, who may be unhoused, but a lot of folks do, and this is the opportunity, I think, to get them on the right path. So that's one thing. Two, let me introduce to you two board members of CHP, whom you may not know, or you may know, Joan Lennis and Helen Head. If we're successful sometimes legislatively, it's because of those two.
You know how the place works.
They are whispering in the ears of the staff at CHT about what to do and how to do things. So I'm very, very happy to be. They've been long-term board members and we're really, we're happy as staff and as leadership to have them on the board for a number of years. So is there a slideshow up behind me? There it is. Okay. Okay, no worries.
I mean, do you want to share a screen with me?
I don't have a screen.
But I'm sorry.
Oh, I know that part. I want you to see that too. But if you have that in front of you,
Or
or
either
your
hard
slides,
copies of those.
excellent. Okay, I'll go
So,
turn the page or turn the slide or something like that. Okay. So thank you for the time today for your and especially for your service. We would ask you to provide testimony on a particular project we have completed just recently in Shelburne. It's probably one of a kind, generational maybe. We'd love to be able to do them often and yearly, but we know that's going to be difficult. But this one in particular is very impactful. So very briefly, a little bit about CHT. We provide a range of housing, programs and services, from services and programs to the kinds of housing that we do build, along a continuum ranging from homelessness to homeownership. So it isn't just one thing we do. We believe strongly that people who are unhoused need a place. We also believe strongly that the opportunity for people to build wealth for home ownership is critical. And so we do a wide range of things and give people a chance to be housed along a continuum. We principally serve Northwest Vermont, but do have a few programs that operate statewide. Some loan programs, some mobile home lending programs, farm worker housing programs. As you can see from the slide, or on wherever you're looking, we are relatively large in size and capacity, a little bit bigger than most of the nonprofits in the state. And as a result, we act as a resource to many of the folks in the state of Vermont. But let me be clear that what's been critical in terms of us doing our work has been the support we have received from the legislature and the support that we have received from Vermont Housing Conservation Board. Most of we can leverage federal resources when we can, but often enough, it's state resources that are critical. Something up behind me? No,
yeah, I'm wondering, can you hang on? We have
Just a face.
trouble trying to share the screen?
Yeah.
Off the mic.
I can't get on the Wi-Fi. Actually, get Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Here,
Okay,
I can
put it
just
on.
share it. You wouldn't mind. That would be great.
Oh, okay.
It's a different world than 30 years ago.
He's good, thank God.
40
I
years.
tell you that I have it on my phone and I could hold it up. I'm not sure if it's the same. It's up there now.
Now.
So great.
Say Troy, you'd see it, but not us.
Okay. So when I think about the redevelopment Shelburne, let me just say, I want to recall the origins of how we bought the property. We purchased the Econo Lodge, and rebranded it as Harbor Place in 2013. So.
It's a Shel-
Keep going.
Yeah, that's a
Keep going.
Shelburne one.
Go to Harbor Place.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do like this when I got a slide change. How's that? Cool. Right? We purchased the Econo Lodge and rebranded it as Harbor Place, and we believed that we could provide a lower cost and better service model than the traditional motel program that was operating in the state at the time. And in fact, that was true. It was successful. But when we started it, we also had a plan B because we didn't know if it was going to really work. After a year, we said, okay, at least we own 5.5 acres in Shelburne. We got the property for a good price. We'll operate this program. And if it doesn't work, we could always redevelop it. Next slide. Well, the model worked. And so well, in fact, that we went off and bought 11 other motels and used them for a variety of different purposes, repurposing them in different ways, from shelters to affordable rental housing. And that's been a sort of very active work for us. It's actually less expensive to buy an old motel and convert it. That's been happening around the state now, here and there. And we've kind of run out of the cheap ones at this point in Chittenden County, but we're sort of always on the lookout for that opportunity. Next slide. So after 10 years, the original Harbor Place was getting old and tired, and although a couple of the buildings were worth saving, most needed to come down. So in 2023, we began to do Plan B. As a result, Bay Ridge was born. And as you can see, there's a ribbon cutting here. We cut the ribbon in the opening this just past fall after a 3-year development process. It's a new neighborhood with 68 apartments and 28 shared equity homes. Here is a site plan. Next slide. And basically what I'll say is that all of this here, down here, is all new housing, all new development. 2 of the original motel buildings that we had 10 units in them were efficiencies. We renovated those. So we kept 20 of the existing properties, and we added a whole pile more, all new buildings, all new home ownership in this location, rental in this location. For a long time, I got as I was walking around Chittenden County, so wow, what are you building? And it really does showcase itself up on Shelburne Road in a way that is a little bit different than perhaps a regular development. So next slide. The apartments are a wide range of bedroom sizes, with some being deeply affordable. 30 households will have vouchers. Another 20 families will be exiting homelessness, moving out of shelters, moving out of the street, out of motels. Let me just say that most of the people who live here work. I think sometimes there's a misnomer that the affordable housing we build, where people are just simply low income and are not working. I asked yesterday, and about 75–80% of the people are working who live in this. Even the people who are homeless, some are working. The people who are getting vouchers are not getting their full freight paid. Those are people who have Social Security or disabled, right? Who are not able to work. They're probably getting the full value of the vouchers, but some people are just getting a little bit of help off the vouchers, just enough to make their housing affordable. And I think that it's really good to sort of express the fact that this is worker housing often. This is workforce housing. When 80% of the people here are working, and it's still affordable for a wide range of incomes, I think you have success, and you have a mixed income, essentially rental building.
I have a question here, Mike.
Sure.
James?
Just to orient myself or anybody else who doesn't know, where exactly on Shelburne Road is this? Is it below like Tractor Supply and stuff?
Yeah.
Sean doesn't let me come to Shelburne, so.
Yeah. It's between Tractor Supply and Sean's place.
Well, his place is a little smaller.
Yeah.
But it is a
But
little.
I think it's important to also say that Warrington Village behind my place is very similar to that, with a lot of people working as well.
I wasn't done yet. But,
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
so So it's between there,
Yeah, it's next to Dan Form Shoes.
okay, thanks.
If that helps you.
Gotcha. Yeah,
That's the best place to buy shoes in Chittenden County. But if you, that's right next to Dan Form.
That's where I buy my shoes, except
Right. That's right, right in front of Honda, the Honda.
You guys get the 2-for-1 from Dan Form for.
Anyway, sorry.
Thank you.
Sure.
This helps to know where something is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Bay Ridge and it's Harbor Place because it's really on the bayside looking out over Shelburne.
Joe, did you have any?
Yeah, so, yeah, 17 and a quarter heated for a 3-bedroom is a great rate these days.
Yeah, and it's a high level.
So if somebody has a voucher, it's also way below the voucher rate.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a voucher, they just is their rent just adjusted to whatever the voucher allowance is?
The rent is adjusted to 30% of their income. So if you're renting one of our units, no matter what, we have a fixed price. And if you bring a voucher, then we'll adjust it to your income. Everybody else is paying the proposed rent, the set rent.
But as far as your gross rent rolls, I mean, the voucher rate for a 3 heated, I don't know what kind of heat you have, it varies. But it'd be something like in the $2,300 vicinity.
It's less than that, yeah. It's much less than that.
So the question is, are there like market rate apartments where the rent is less than if somebody has a voucher that you're working with?
All right, so again, we're setting the rents at a range of incomes. I didn't put them up there, 30%, 50%, 60%, up to 80%. So this 3-bedroom is one example. So there's a wide range of rents. And frankly, people sit there and say, okay, I have this application, and where do I fit them in this sort of pegboard of different kinds of incomes and all of that. So there's a wide range. So we have a 3-bedroom, there'll be a wide range of sort of rents in those 3 bedrooms, depending upon, sort of how we've set up the program for the tax credit program. So the voucher number might actually be higher in terms of what we're paying as a market rent. So the voucher holder though comes in and they're still just paying 30% of their rent.
Understood.
Right? Okay. Did I get there?
I think so.
Okay, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I think fully occupied, leased up very quickly. A big effort in sort of to reach out to Shelburne businesses. And so you have a wide range of folks in Shelburne who are looking for, hey, I need a place closer to the work that we're having, and a number of places like Wake Robin or Shelburne Farms or some of these other places. We also did a number of, there's a solar field that's across the street that is connected to this development project. And I was told very clearly that this project has got now cleaner water coming off of this site than it did before because of the work we did to ensure that the lake was not going to receive sort of the stuff that came off the road that was there previously. We made sure there was stormwater ponds. We made sure that the water was all being managed well before it got into the lake. So a large development which yields a better result for the lake as well in terms of it's what we did. So if I can move on to the condominiums, we also created 26 condominiums, and I'll call this workforce home ownership. Okay, because in fact, many of the folks here, all the folks here are working. And these are 2 and 3 bedrooms at very good prices. I think if you see here, this is what, 169,000, I like to round up, 170,000, 190,000 for 2 and 3 bedrooms, which are remarkably low. And let me say, these are 2 and 3 bedrooms, 2-car garages, mud room, really 2 baths. Really well done. These are not inexpensive tiny homes. These are actually just smaller than your, single family home on a big lot, but they are certainly well done for folks. And people moved in, immediately started planting flowers around their place, immediately started complaining about their neighbors. It was
That's cool.
exactly what homeownership is about. So we're happy about that. So all, like in everything we do will be permanently affordable. And I'm going to wind down now here because I'm going to show you, and your eyes will glaze over, what we call the capital stack. Only 16 sources went into creating the affordable rental housing. Only 16. A major part of that was the Vermont Housing Conservation Board, a significant investment. And in the home ownership, if you take a look at the next slide, there were only 8 sources, so it's a little easier. But again, Vermont Housing Conservation Board, once again, being a fairly significant part of the support that we got. So this is probably a once in a lifetime project, I think. I hate to say that, because we did Harrington Village, which was a decent size, and we're doing things at Cambrian Rise. What I'd like to be able to say is it's a once in a year project. We really could use the resources to build something like this on a regular basis. That's what's needed, right? That again, what I want to state is almost everyone here is working. These are working people who need good affordable housing. This provides an opportunity for your businesses in Chittenden County to really, live and prosper. At the same time, we're also making sure that the people who need the housing the most are being housed and got an opportunity to be able to house the people who are unhoused at this point and getting them off the streets and solving that problem as well. You can do a number of different things when you build something like this with the number of units and the different types and styles of housing that we have, both homeownership and rental. So we'd love to be able to do this again. We need, like I said, need to do more of these, and with your support, we can. Thank you so much.
So I have a question on some of the funding, because I'm looking on the funding sources and also that one.
Which one do you want?
If you go to the previous page, and this is a big influx of 9.5 million came from the ARPA,
Yeah, that's right.
and that's no longer
That's right.
there. And then you got quite in different places from HUD,
That's right.
where some of it was earmarks from our congressional delegation, but also there's other HUD funding in Vermont Housing Finance, but particularly the HUD funding and any federal monies. Is there concern that those dollars might not be there for future projects?
So there is nothing more anxious about than watching other than watching you all. I think it's pretty easy, but watching the federal government make laws, right? And how the House and the Senate bounces things back and forth. And the truth is that after what seemed to be a devastating proposal for a budget, last year, it's continuing this budget that they agreed upon, which they just voted on, is actually positive in terms of sort of keeping everything stable.
Yeah.
The same amount, CDBG is fully funded, projects are fully funded. There are some congressionally directed spending in here. We have some money coming for a project in Winooski. We have some money coming here for a couple of different sources. So that's still happening. So this year's budget has been settled. Do I have concern? We're watching it all the time. We're sort of watching the impact of the vouchers suddenly disappearing and the difficulty that was and how you all actually came through your Budget Adjustment Act with some additional funds to sort of ease that sort of difficulty that was happening statewide with the voucher. Right. But I would say that, it's a deep breath right up until maybe next October 1st, right?
I mean, we're so dependent on other sources.
That's right.
There's no way that the state can fill in
Yeah.
some of those holes. Joe?
Are those tax credits state and or federal?
The low-income housing tax credit is a federal tax credit,
It's all
and
federal.
RBC is the Royal Bank of Canada.
Yeah,
So
well, I
they're-
mean,
yeah.
I mean, they're just buying it at a discount, but it's
Yeah.
federal, it's federal.
It's all federal
it's all
tax,
federal.
yeah, and we do a decent number, both, this is a low-income housing tax credit program, but it's a 4% program, which is basically, it's using less of the tax credit program than a 9%, which is scarce in terms of resources. In other words, there's a high competition for the 9% tax credit, 4% not as much. And so what the other sources are able to do is to leverage that 4% credit. So you see it's 14 million up on top, but it's really only about 25 or 30% of the bottom line. We're able to do that here with a 4% because of all these other resources. And frankly, those other resources are what's made this project work.
Mhm.
I think we've been urging you all to sort of at least take some consideration for the fact that there is a cliff. If all of this disappears and there's not some additional funds, do the best you can,
I mean, the big piece there that helped that is going away is the
Yeah.
American Rescue.
That's right.
ARPA 9.5, that's only for a 5-year period of time. That's gone.
That's right. And so Chris could bring you in a chart about what happens if we don't have any of that and sort of what happens with the number of units that does created. We're sort of urging some additional resources to VACB in order to be able to at least make that slope, not a cliff, and be able to ease into sort of like the better pattern of development. Because previous to COVID, we would do 20 units at a time. in Trinidad County, which when you think about it, it's not a lot. And at one point, we actually had, when the governor came forward and you all supported the bond vote, we had a large boost in housing. And we were building 60 to 70 units at a time. We did 2 of those, right, with that bonded money. But that bonded money disappeared. ARPA money moved in, and we kept it at a fairly strong pace. If we went back to pre-bond money, we're doing 20 units at a time in Chittenden County. And that's just not going to do it. I mean, frankly, just not. And I know it's difficult here to balance out what you have in terms of needs, but it's not going to really move us forward the way a project like this, which is housing a few hundred people, in terms of the families. We have larger units here, larger bedroom sizes here, and it's able to house quite a number of folks, and to be able to do this on a regular basis. And we're still writing a few of the ARPA monies. We got a couple of projects downtown, one project downtown, one out in North Avenue, one in Heinsberg and Winooski. We're still riding some of this resources that are available, but that's gonna disappear.
Sean and then Connor.
I just have to say, I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for what you have done up in Chittenden County. And I think it needs, and I just want to make that clear to my committee members that what you've done up there is nothing short of a miracle. It doesn't stop. And that whatever we can do, everybody in this room, to help people like Champlain Housing Trust build housing for people is the answer. The answer is sitting in this room with us. It does. We don't have to look any farther than that. And I just needed to say that. And I'm surrounded by projects you've done and you've given, and I know a lot of those people who are in the Harrington Village, and they are good people, and you gave them a shot at something that they really didn't have in their lives. And I've seen it change their lives. And I just needed to say that. That's all.
Yeah, Michael, I echo Sean. This is good news going into the weekend here. We've had a barn burner of a week in committee.
Said that.
I'm glad I could help.
I was wondering, we're the corrections committee, and big issue is we have a lot of folks past their minimums incarcerated, right? Only for lack of housing. And we're spending millions every year on that. So I was wondering, does the trust have any partnerships with corrections? Because I'm just thinking, it's really tough to place, obviously. It's tough to find partners.
Yeah, so let me just say this. We did, and it simply was not able to be filled. We actually sold it to Pathways recently for the Asteria House, the building, and the building that we developed for people, for folks who are having psychotic breaks. We're open though, and we continue to have that opportunity. So I have at CHT now houses about 500 people who are formerly homeless. Corrections counts as that group. We have 12 people, resident services folks, who are working with a variety of organizations and agencies, including corrections, to move people into our housing. And so, again, that's a critical mission for us. As I showed you in one of the early slides, it goes from homelessness to home ownership and all that opportunity. So we do have partnerships. I can't tell you precisely where I am at right now, but we have a director of resident services who is, and a group of folks who are constantly talking about keeping people housed. When people are housed with us who are formerly homeless, 90 to 95% of them stay housed. In other words, we bring them success. Not everybody can. People still need maybe a different housing type, or simply fail. That's just the world we're in. You're in correction, so you know this works. But so it's not always easy, but we can and really lean into that work. Nobody pays for that. These two over here raise money for that. Help us bring in money for resources to be able to support folks who are residents who need that support. So I'll follow up a little bit more.
Yeah, if there's any creative ideas, because we're spending $90,000 a person in corrections, it's for lack of housing. We should be able to connect the dots, but I'm so glad you're thinking of it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Yeah, I would echo too. It sounds wonderful. I don't think I understand. of the two charts, I'm looking at about $65 million.
Yep.
That was one-time money to bring these facilities up to being available.
Yep.
I would assume they're fully occupied.
Yep.
So you must have a waiting list for people who would like to,
We get about 3,000 applications a year.
okay? And you must have criteria for selecting who gets to use it or not.
Yep.
I would imagine that's difficult because there's a lot of people who can't come in.
Yep.
How much of your year-to-year expense, if you will, to maintain is covered by the people occupying the buildings?
Yep.
As opposed to being subsidized by someone,
I would.
percentage-wise. not
Sure,
dollars.
sure. There was somebody at CHT whose sole job was to make sure that the buildings, each property, is sustainable, and pays its own way, pays the fees to property management, pays the fees to maintenance, puts money aside to do the capital needs of the building. So our intention always with every project that we do is that they don't need to go to anyone else for capital improvements and needs.
Okay.
Now, what I'll say is that that's most properties are decently successful. I would say 90% of the various property, and we treat each one separately as its own little, each one is sustainable and has what I would call a green light from us. We have a handful that are not doing so well, that we need to go in and refinance and rethink and redo. But that's just the nature of sort of the beast that we have in terms of how we initially capitalize it or how we, what might have been used, what the property might have been used for. This one should be sustainable for a long time and should pay for all of its capital needs. Every property has a 15-year capital plan. Every property has a 5-year capital plan. And there's a core of about 4 people whose work is to make sure that that work is happening at every property to make sure that they're sustained and don't need any money from anybody else.
Wow.
I'm the guy who they come to say, this isn't working. So I have a short list of properties that are going, okay, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? Where do we go? So every once in a while it happens. 95% of the housing that we do have is self-sustaining. Doesn't need any more resources. So every once in a while we have to refinance or recapitalize in some other way and ask for, but mostly we go for tax credit funds if we can. Every once in a while we go to VHCP, but they say to us, you all want new units, and we appreciate that. So, yeah, makes sense.
Questions? Thank you.
Right?
I'm fearful of derailing the conversation, and it was better to talk later. Happy to do it. But I'm thinking back to the comment that you made early in your presentation about the accountability for it and what a good thing it's been. We've heard a lot from people in judiciary. We've heard a lot from people in the correctional system. They all agree. I think this is the first we're hearing from a provider, and I'd love to hear more. But so what are you seeing? How does it influence what you
Yeah.
think?
So, we're in the middle of Burlington. We're at 88 King Street. We look over the King Street Center, and we have properties a block away that's looking over City Hall Park. So what we do see is sort of like criminal activity, and we have seen over the last couple of years a change from the policing in terms of being more responsive and being more positive. And we've seen a couple of other things that have been changed and putting in the accountability court. And I have somebody on our board who does the Community Justice Center, who directs that, who is involved in that sort of activity. And we could sort of see that, in fact, a number of cases of people who are not, who before did not have any accountability, now have something stronger to work with. And so I'm going on the successful rate in terms of the numbers of folks that have been sort of adjudicated, if that's the right word. And certainly the number of folks who we know now have something that is different than having nothing at all. So I think it's going to be 6 months where I could truly say, wow, that was great. Certainly moving through the cases and making that work has been valuable, I think, at a local level. And this is sort of my conversations with the police, with the city of Burlington, with the Community Justice Center folks, and saying how valuable and useful it's been in terms of also our resident services staff who know that there are people who are bouncing around our properties and causing some chaos, and how that they have some accountability now that's different than before.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Anything
You
else?
stayed longer than I thought I was
No,
gonna
this
stay.
is fine. This is good.
To go put
You're
money in the
used to
meter.
You're used to testifying. This is great. This
This
is
is-
very, very helpful.
This is fun testimony compared to some.
Oh, okay. I'll come back next week if you want.
Whatever it is you need, Kevin.
It's for state dollars at work.
I appreciate that.
It is.
And that's important for you to hear, I think, is that it really, really has made a difference. Keep it up if you can.
Thank you so much.
It's great.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right, thank you.
So I need to scoot out because I want to meet with Mary. So there's two other folks
Yep.
who are coming up and there are some documents as well. You don't have to take as long. I did, Michael did. But I'm not sure which one would be due next.
I am going to call on Bold Creek Common Lands. Hannah.
Well, what?
Oh.
No,
She
no,
knows.
come on up. Yeah, come on up. This is, hang on,
So this is not right.
Vermont Adaptive.
it's from Adaptive.
You got two guys over both.
It's listed.
The Vermont Adaptive is not on it.
No, it's not. Okay.
Sorry.
Never
So
mind.
your name wasn't on there. Sorry. Can you do us a favor and introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Erin Fernandez, and I'm the Executive Director at Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports. And I think the story I'll tell you today is kind of an anomaly for this committee, but also our budget doesn't look anything like what Champlain Housing looks like. We really have been around for 40 years, but we don't rely on federal or state money on any sort of consistent basis. We have a $2 million operating budget.
So it's just you can hear it down here. It's hard to.
Sorry.
So that's fine.
So we have a $2 million operating budget that we sustain annually, year over year. And when we do get the opportunity to work with important funds like the HCD, it's a game changer for us. So in between like capital projects or really important milestones that we can make, essentially we don't rely on any or state or federal dollars. So what Vermont Adaptive does is we provide recreation for people with disabilities. And we do that for people who live in the state of Vermont and for tourists.
You want him to forward your slides?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. I'll give you so thinking of that, I have 17 full-time staff. And in 2025, Vermont Adaptive provided more than 5,700 outings. And that's the number of adventures we put out for the year. And we use dozens of locations throughout the state, but we are mostly known for our skiing programs at Sugarbush, Killington, Pico. We just expanded our operation and merged with another organization where they merged in 2 hours. So now we're at Stratton. So essentially we're the whole corridor of like that Route 100 Green Mountain corridor. So we anticipate going to 7,000 outings this year. We also provide our programs on a scholarship sliding scale. So people who can't afford our programming are always welcome to still come and join. And we quantify that number based on like the discounts. So if somebody says to us, we can't afford to pay, we say, what can you afford to pay? Can you afford $5? And so essentially we've given over $230,000 in scholarships in 2025. So not only are we removing a physical barrier, we're removing an economic barrier for anybody who wants to participate. We have 450 volunteers throughout the state. We provide all their training for them and they give their time and talent, and it's over 10,000 hours annually to support our programming. So the team is 17 staff and 450 volunteers, and usually about 20 interns a year. We're an example of when you fund programs like VHCB and they can do something outside of, housing, which is important. This investment can help us grow and be more sustainable. And so VHCB brought us to this next level by helping us purchase a property in Rochester, Vermont, central part of the state. That's an important thing for us. and we're going to open an outdoor education and retreat center. I've been working on this project for 2 years specifically with the Land Trust and BHCB, but I've also been trying to get this project done for over 10 years. And so this is in addition to just daily operations, everything we do, $2.3 million. This is a capital project, and we've completed some pretty successfully throughout the years. And like I said, we're kind of this independent operation. So when you do support something like VHCB, you're bringing access for us, housing, workforce development, recreation, and an economic impact to the communities that we work in. So we have 100 acres now in Rochester, and it's 125 actually. 20 acres are ours to work with that are excluded from what we put in with the Vermont Land Trust. And those 100 acres will be conserved in perpetuity. And we work with VHCB to purchase the property. We're going to develop our property with some accessible camping and adaptive recreation. There's already 3 miles of existing adaptive trails on that property. And it's just an example of what, thoughtful conservation can look like. Thoughtful recreation where conservation meet together, but also provides economic impact. And that house is going to be used for interns. And the thing about interns at Vermont Adaptive that's a little bit unique is that we have students that are gaining their certified rec therapy degree. And that's not as widespread as like occupational therapy. It's not as easy to find that clinical hours to volunteer somewhere, to get your clinical hours so you can finish with that degree. There's only one certified rec therapist that works in the state of Vermont. Most states have one working in every town, for example. So Vermont Adaptive is filling that void with our services and training all these folks for jobs here in Vermont in recreation or for their ability to finish their education. And recently, last several years, they can't stay in Vermont. They can't find affordable housing while they're trying to do their service hours so that they can complete their degree. And there is very limited specialized people that can offer the oversight for this degree track. And we are one, and we have been passed up by Colorado and Utah, which we consider our competition in general in the ski industry. But really, we want those interns. So housing, short-term housing, affordable housing, while they're here with us, this house provides that solution. And it's not a statewide solution because Rochester, commute, you can effectively get to our Sugarbush location really well and our Killington location really well. They're both equidistant, about 20 miles. And so those programs will be impacted directly by our workforce development and having these access to these interns who really help us run our programming while they're here. They're here to learn, and we need them to work. So every CTRS applicant that we've had that wanted to come to Vermont, I would say 95% of them have been going out to Colorado or Utah because those programs already had housing opportunities. So for the house right now, to get it ready for our interns, we're just doing like efficiency repairs and accessibility upgrades and to get it ready to work for year round. The outside property and the exterior of that space that we're kind of developing for recreation, yurts, camping, spaces to be together, spaces to be mindful. We're using the whole holistic, thinking of the whole body as we develop our recreational programs here at this space, in addition to outdoor education, which marries right back to conservation and it marries right back to our land trust partnerships. So we did an economic impact study and contribute a pretty decent amount, we think, to the economy of Vermont in travel and tourism. And so we'll go to this next slide. I love that space. So let's see, 1 in 4 adults, United States identify as having some sort of disability. Our recreation programs are open to all ages and all types of populations of people with disabilities. We generate $10.3 million in total economic output for our state. And we contribute 6.1 million to Vermont's gross domestic product. And through our economic study, we found out we support 72 jobs and we have 17 employees and 55 indirect. So our athletes don't travel alone. They bring an average 3.1 people with them. So we're, because of Vermont Adaptive, you're gaining 2.1 additional people contributing to our recreation and tourism economy. So here's the important thing that I just want to make sure you understand how I fit into this bigger picture. VHCB helps anchor economic activity. And when we can partner with them for something like this, we have preserved 100 acres. We have free workforce housing for training and workforce development. We've added opportunities for adaptive access. We're creating jobs because we'll be bringing jobs into that community. And we're reducing, hopefully we're making more energy efficient consciousness decisions. And we also leveraged state and federal funds to make this happen. So a lot of our efficiency remodeling and development of the outside, now that we own the property, I'm working with the, what is it called, Kim? Northern Borders federal grants. And so it's a unique opportunity to partner all these things together when we're not a municipality and we're not, anything like what you guys normally see or hear about.
First, I'll start it. I guess, thank you so much for coming. Obviously, economic impact matters, but, working with individuals in any different situation, in this case, disabilities, is very important. I've been thinking about how to say this while you were talking, while listening at the same time, but as somebody, some people with disabilities or whatever, or it could be depression, whatever it is, shows. And for other people, it doesn't. And you guys know this very well. And these guys know, they've heard my story, that somebody has a ton of metal and plastic and ceramic in their body at every place you can have it, except for my knees. The amount of pain and stuff people go through. Just bringing the awareness to that for other people, and then saying, like, you don't have to quit. That's wasn't the story I tell to everybody. I got hurt really, really bad in the military when I was 19, and I'm 52. I'll be 52 in a month.
The driver of this was our veterans programs, because I wanted to bring a centralized location so we don't have to use hotels. We can have our own inclusive space where we can do both.
Yeah. And my point was just simply that bringing awareness to that and just telling people, like, there's something for you. Like, we'll help you. We'll hold your hand. We'll do whatever. We'll be there emotionally, whatever it is. Don't give up. And I think that part is a great message now for having opportunities to do things that they might not think they can do. So I really appreciate what you guys do. Brian?
That actually helped to crystallize the thing that I was thinking about. So I only knew you through your, there was a friend and former colleague who did adaptive ski as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I thought of you.
Jim?
This is Gideon Dudley.
Oh, get it. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and so I'm looking at the 1 in 4 stat. I'm thinking about what James has just said. I'm thinking about the fact that our parks folks, they do whatever ADA accommodations they can. So what am I not thinking about in terms of disability, and what sorts of things do y'all do that wouldn't be included in what the parks are trying to do with, like, wheelchair access or something? Like, am I forgetting about autistic? Who am I forgetting about? What am I missing?
The state is forgetting about having CTRSs, these certified rec therapists, working in each community. We don't have a population density in Vermont to have a adaptive rec department in each department. That is so commonplace in every other state, that has larger population densities for us. We have one hospital that has one recreation therapist. So Vermont Adaptive is serving as that recreation therapy advisor to all of your state communities and people who need help, so that no one is forgotten. So sometimes we go into communities where one school child wants to do their class trip and we provide one piece of equipment to make that possible for them. That might be a 2-hour drive for us to bring that equipment to that school, make sure they know how to use it, bring the right volunteers. And what's not happening is Vermont Adaptive doesn't have consistent funding from the state to do these things. We run our own hustle and we make it happen because we don't want anybody left behind. But we're also saving your municipalities tons of money and not having to hire additional staff. And that's because we've been here for 40 years and just doing what we do, that they don't need to then go on out. And we partner with the Federal Forest Service. We partner with the state parks people. We were here last week testifying for the Recreation Day. And, you know, we're leveraged like no other organization that I've ever really talked to, because we try to make it happen for every student that wants to get out there and for, you know, every veteran that should have a community that supports them.
We appreciate it. Any other questions? Sean?
Aaron, thanks. So you've made this purchase of this one building and you just expanded down to southern Vermont, which is really exciting. Do you have like a long-term plan? Do you see that if you have it, can you share any of that with us?
Sure. Vermont Adaptive doesn't do anything without having sustainable infrastructure because we're on our own, right? So we already know that. We're working on an endowment and building up that capital so that we can have a new source of income. But really our plan is, you know, some of our program fees do contribute to our operating budget. They contribute to about 10%. So everything else is through donations and through the partnerships that we create and through once in a while accessing partnerships that also can be leveraged with state or federal dollars. So VHCB helped us get this project done, and it will be a sustainable project in and of itself, as well as adding our programs down at Stratton and Bromley. And those are a heavy lift. All of that is a heavy lift. I have 17 staff. And so I get this done because the people I surround myself with are amazing. And we just continue to grow slowly. And we know we'll add staff when we're operating this facility. And we just keep fundraising. We do take that very seriously. And that's every donation, every individual that donates to our programs. That's how we make it happen.
Thanks.
We definitely appreciate you coming in today and thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I'll get it right. Bull Creek.
Common lands.
Common lands. Bull Creek Common Lands.
Is our presentation?
We have one up on our website.
Great.
Yeah. Tate's becoming really good at this.
Thank you.
And it'll be the same thing for, I assume you're Hannah, right?
I'm Hannah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just introduce yourself for the record and take it from there.
Great. Yeah, I'm Hannah Regier. I am the chair of the board of Bull Creek Common Lands. And we are a all volunteer land trust based in Athens, Vermont. My colleague Deborah Clark, who's also on the board, is
Hi, Deborah.
with me. And yeah, we're here also as grateful recipients of VHCB funding, most recently for this Bull Creek Headwaters project that I'd like to share with you all today. So before we move on, I guess I'll just, this beautiful image here is the actual headwaters pond of the Bull Creek watershed. And it's about a 6-acre pond, one of many crown jewels of this property. And you can move to the next slide. This is another view of the same pond. So the project that we completed in November of 2025 took 3 years to complete. And what it ended up being was 341 acres of headwater forests and wetlands. And since we're talking about money today, I'll share what our budget was. And we're a very small team of volunteers. So this is a smaller budget than the previous presenters, but it was big for us. The project cost was $950,000. VHCB's supplied about a third of that, so $315,000, which was split between Bull Creek Common Lands and Vermont Land Trust, who now holds a conservation easement on the land. And then the other third of the project was supported by foundations and private donations. Sorry, 1/3 VHCB, 1/3 foundations and private donations, and 1/3 leverage with bargain sales and land donations. Yes. This is just to give you some context of where we are, and this is a watershed map of the state since we're working on natural features scales. The Bull Creek flows into the Saxtons River, which flows into the Connecticut River. And this is an area that is a focal area for so many people looking at land conservation. It's one of the Nature Conservancy's focal areas. All of the land that we conserved checks all of the highest priority boxes for Vermont conservation design. And we also know that southeastern Vermont is underrepresented in conservation statewide.
May I ask a
You may, Kevin.
dumb question?
It's not good.
We use the word conserve all the time.
Yeah,
What does that mean that this land is conserved?
sure. There's two things, and some people kind of call it this belt and suspenders approach, but it's first of all owned by a nonprofit organization that is, our mission is to own land in perpetuity. And then it also has a Vermont Land Trust conservation easement interest in it, which is kind of backup for the long term that provides some specific ecological protections to natural communities, vernal pools, wetlands, and it also restricts development and subdivision in this area.
So it's owned.
Owned by
It's
Bull
not
Creek.
owned by the state.
It's owned by Bull Creek Common Lands,
Right.
which is a nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
helps me.
Sorry, I should have started
No.
with that. Yeah.
Others know what's.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Was there another question?
He just
Okay.
sneezed.
If you want to advance the slide, we can zoom into the actual area that we're talking about now. So the image on the left is the watershed, and you can see the outline, the kind of 7-shaped outline of the town of Athens. And it's a pretty big land area in this small town. And I think, like other communities all around Vermont, Athens has experienced a lot of big floods in the last 5 years, and also Hurricane Irene. But this area, it's kind of a high basin, and in the inset map, you can sort of see all of the green and blue areas that are, there's over 20 acres of wetlands and different types of wetlands, so some forested wetlands, some open wetlands, which just all really help in that floodwater retention. They're sponges for the whole community that's lower elevation. And I guess while we're on this map, there's a trail that I can, in the south west corner here. So this is what's on our website right now for public access. The whole property is open to the public, dispersed access, hunting, and also starting in the spring, there will be a new section of trail that connects a couple of old roads. And you can advance it.
You do?
Question?
So, it's kind of, it's taller too. It's 1,300, but what's the highest peak there? Is it?
I think you're about right with 12 or 1,300.
Yeah.
feet.
Well, the one is 1,400, but then it goes up again, or does it go down?
No, it does go up from that. So
Yeah.
maybe 16.
Yeah, that's, so
16.
it's pretty, so there's some nice, it's mountainous down there.
It is.
Yeah.
These are kind of Green Mountain foothills.
Yeah.
We're on the western edge of the Piedmont,
Yep.
eastern edge of the Green Mountains.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like a rugged rolling hill.
Yeah.
terrain. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of run through a few of these community impact items that it's really this ripple effect, I feel like, from the initial funding. But like I said, the land is open to the public. This is land that has been long used by local people and kind of like de facto public access because of landowners who didn't post their land. But, starting about 3 years ago with this specific land area, there's 3 separate parcels. One of them went on the market, then another one did. And we were just seeing the future of the loss of that public access. One of the parcels was owned by a lumber company who harvested some timber and then we're planning on flipping it. So that was, I think, concerning for multiple reasons for the local people who used the land. And so I feel like this project is doing a service to everybody who really appreciates the open space and what we consider our rural Vermont landscape. The next slide just shows a little bit of the trail. So there's old roads in this area and the trail, you can advance it. The trail connects 2 of the old roads. So from Athens to Townsend is one of those like hill roads that doesn't exist anymore, and a beaver pond blocked it, but we're building a new trail section around this area. So formalizing some recreation in an area that had been kind of blocked off, and the moose use it too.
I know I'm coming in thoroughly. I apologize. Was any of this property or land owned at all by the Department of Forests and Parks?
No.
It wasn't, okay.
No, this was all private land, 3 separate parcels and different stories for each of them, but 2 large ones were on the market and we were able to step in with VHCB's help and purchase those. And
You
a third.
services, because
Yeah.
So since you went there, I love seeing this. In fact, I can't wait till we have green leaves.
I know.
Beyond vision.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they were private properties before it became conserved. So I'm assuming there was a tax base that was given up because of that.
Oh, actually, we pay taxes. Bull Creek Common Lands pays full taxes. I mean, we enroll in current use, but we pay the tax bill that the towns send us.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
the towns are not
The
hurt.
towns are not out anything. Yeah, we're just like any other landowner from the town's point of view. Yeah.
Thank you for, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah. I think there's a process for nonprofits if they want to apply for tax exemption, but all of the small land trusts in Southern Vermont that I'm aware of, we all pay taxes just for that reason, so that we're supporting the towns. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we did possibly avert a house being built, and we know that there's a housing crisis, but the type of house that would have been built with a view of the headwaters pond isn't something that would have been affordable to anyone in our neighborhood, for sure. And so we're working we're working in towns that have planning but not zoning, and we're definitely working within what the town plans are showing as like resource protection areas, which without zoning, this is really just, this is showing a cleared house lot and a log landing on the parcel that overlooks the pond. And we'll see on the couple of slides ahead that we're actually working to help restore that area right now. The next one is a bunch of people looking at a ditch. So it's one of the nice ripple effects. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, sorry, I think I might have just been one slide off from what you all were looking at. Owning the land has given the community this opportunity to do some restoration work with the help of NRCS. And so we're all standing around looking at this ditch that was in an eroded logging road. Some prior logging activity had left without creating water bars. And so we've stepped in there and done a lot of work to like retain the topsoil on this land and keep it out of the Bull Creek itself to keep water quality high. And also hiring some local people to do that work with us. And then the next slide is showing some additional yeah, some tree planting work, some tree protection work, just looking a little bit closer at, yeah, like the ways that the land can help us to be flood resilient, planting buffers, like, you know, this is a beaver pathway in one of the big open meadows. Like anything we can do to keep this land healthy and, yeah, reciprocal nature with the human community. And then there's some neat history on the land. I won't go into all the detail. Me and my colleagues have done a lot of research on this family that lived in the area, but they were incredible stone builders. And there's actually like a state archaeological site now on the property that's protected in our conservation easement. That is a particular type of like French building style, colonial French building style. But the area is still known to locals as the Turtle Lot, which the Turtelot family were the settlers there, and they persisted for over 100 years, up until like the 1880s. But the name remains on the land, and we're naming the trail the Turtle Lot Trail.
What is that structure on the right?
That's a well.
Oh, it's a well looking down.
Yeah, it's a well, one of the cellar holes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, and then the end here is just, I think this is the impact that the folks on the board are most enthusiastic about, is just like the amazing natural features of the land, plants and animals, and yeah, just thinking that they need this space to flourish. Like biodiversity is a really important thing, but it's also like a really beautiful thing to encounter and to know that we're living amongst. So the birds and the orchids, yeah, count too. And I just wanted to end, I guess, with these are some community quotes, some voices. I don't know if they're large enough to read, but we did do some community outreach over the last couple of years and asked some other people who were serving what they love about their neck of the woods. And it was just really gratifying to hear this real interest in protecting land, in having a balance of recreation and like not having too much use that land gets degraded. So. Yeah, so on behalf of the land and all this community, I really would love to see the funding for projects like this continue. We have a pipeline that is probably goes for a couple of years right now, and nothing as large as this, but we're in touch with other small land trusts in Southern Vermont also, who are all doing the same type of work.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah, thanks, Anna.
It's wonderful.
Appreciate it.
And the testimony today really shows how it's so important for state dollars to make these projects come to fruition, because we usually fill in the hole.
Yes.
If possible. And it's really great that folks could come in and share this, because it really shows us, we sit in our little committee room and we don't realize what impact, positive or negative, it has out there in our communities. And it's really fruitful for legislators to see the results.
Yeah, wonderful.
It's on the land at any time.
Yes, right.
Houses warm.
Yes, it's warm in here, I'll tell you that. When I came in, I said, oh, it's warm here.
Thank you guys for coming, and you should be really proud of what you do. So we appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
So for the committee, it's time to take a quick lunch break. We're back here at 12 o'clock to work on driver's license for 2 minutes. I just want to bring the committee up to speed. I had a really good conversation with Mary Jane Ainsworth in terms of what do we do with the parole board. I brought her the questions that we had the other day in terms of her budget needs and what does she really need, what programs are out there and the budget that she really needs, and then the legal representation. Is it more in training or is it more in the representation piece? She feels it should be for both.
Yes.
And then for some of her costing out the program and that structure of how she might help submit a budget and working within the Agency of Human Services, I suggested to her that she and I and and James sit down with John Gray
Yeah.
and work through language to put into a new draft for you, for us to take a look at. And then I bounced off of her in terms of where is the Attorney General with their legal representation, where's DOC with their representation? And there's this conflict, and some people say, yes, there's a conflict, and some people say, no, there's no conflict, we can deal with it. And I suggested to Mary, I said, well, one of my tactics that I have done over the years, and you folks, I know Mary's experienced it, but I don't think many of you folks have experienced it yet. One of the things I tend to do, if there's 2 or 3 or 4 entities, groups, that we get conflicting testimony or we get way down in the weeds and we can't get ourselves out, I say to them, go to the cafeteria and figure it out, and then come back with your plan. So I asked Mary Jane, would that be possible for the AG's office and her and DOC, and possibly someone from the Agency of Human Services at my request, get together, knock heads, figure it out, have your candid conversations, and come back here with a plan. And she's willing to do that. And I told them when she connects with those folks, tell them it's a request from me as the chair of the committee. You gotta get off the dime here. And we just can't do it in testimony, because then I get pulled out in the hall and say, well, it's more like this, or it's more like this. And the committee can't go forward with something like that. So hopefully maybe by the middle of next week, we might be able to have a little bit more direction.
Good, thank you.
So
Thank
that's what we talked about.
I don't know if I missed it or didn't understand. Did you put your thumb on the scales in terms of a desired outcome, or just go figure it out?
We'll figure it out.
So
that's
The desired outcome is that the board has legal representation.
So we're agnostic on whether they're within.
Yeah, I said, you need legal backup. I said, the committee is pretty unified. You need legal backup, and it can't be a person that's representing both sides.
No.
And, you know, so she agrees with that. And, so go figure it out. Players, go in the cafeteria and knock heads and if you can't come back with a plan, with a process, well, then we'll deal with that when we have to, but hopefully maybe they can do that. So that's what I really wanted to have, a one-on-one conversation with Mary Jane. So that's what I had. So with that being said, let's go off of you.